Hello viewers, a new week is upon us, so we have some new daily races on Gran Turismo 7, including this, the Samba bus race around the meme circuit. Group 3 around Interlagos for the 400 billionth time, and Group 2 at Maggiore. I'm going to jump into my old favourite, Group 3 Interlagos. And this does beg the question, have they run out of ideas over at Polyphony? Because this combination, Group 3 at Interlagos, despite how good it is, you know, it's a great track in good cars. Well, we have seen it many times, and it makes you wonder whether or not they have any creativity left. We're going to go up the inside into turn 1 here in the Peugeot RCZ, and this seems to be one of the go-to cars for this race. And I decided, as you can see, to start at the back. Always makes it more fun, doesn't it? Let's see what we can do from here. Try and make this a fun race as we head into turn number 4 up against the Lamborghini. Quite a good choice of cars being picked here. Big moment on the exit of the 4th corner. Looking up the inside, not quite going to go for it here. Have to be nice and patient behind this guy as we head into the infield. Now take a look at that almighty gaggle of cars up in front. Just look at that. There's a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 something cars. Can't quite count how many, but there's loads, and this could get very spicy indeed. So you have to bet. Oh, there we go. He's gone straight off. Lamborghini is going to go up the inside, get spun around. I'm going to almost get spun around by the car behind as well. It really is all kicking off now into the final corner, and we've lost a fair chunk of time. Still in 13th position. We are going to get a run here. The Peugeot seems to be quite quick in a straight line. Up the inside we go, and the job is done. Now trying to look at the back of the Lamborghini, and again getting a run. The Peugeot very good in a straight line. Looking up the inside, go for the move, and we don't really even have to go for it because he drives straight off the track. Well, not off the track, but very wide indeed. And that's me up into 11th. Let's try and catch back up with this very big group up in front. And by the time we get to turn 4, we do that. This guy spins out. Oh, thank goodness for ghosting there as I came off the throttle. But thankfully, the ghosting initiated and I went straight through. So good stuff. As we head into the infield for the second time, 2x2 up in front. Very, very close indeed. Oh, the Peugeot spins, and then the Porsche goes for a big move. And all he does is send himself off into the grass. And that's me up into P8 already. By the end of the lap, you can see the car in front had a penalty. So that's an easy 7th. And then as the race progressed, I was getting closer and closer to the closerer. What a name. And on this occasion, not quite close enough. As we head onto the main straight, I definitely had the benefit of the top speed you can see here and the slipstream. Getting very close by the time we get onto the brakes. Into the centre S, not close enough though to go for the overtake. And so we're just going to have to wait for another moment. So on the next lap, lap number 4, just trying to get as close as we can. And I would like to know your thoughts, guys, on the daily race choices in this game. I mean, you know, the game's been out a year and a half now, and for me, I don't think they've really been creative enough. There's so many more combinations of cars and tracks out there that they could utilise and simply haven't. I mean, there's lots of tracks, for example, like St. Croix, something like that, which rarely ever gets used. And then you get tracks like, you know, Fuji in Group 3, Interlagos in Group 3, combinations which are used over and over again. You know, they're great tracks in great cars, but it would be nice to have a bit more variety, I think. And so I'd like to see some changes made in the future. Up the inside into turn number 1, and then we get the job done through the exit of the centre S up into 6th position, would you believe? Trying to catch up with the 4 GT there to get a top 5. I did manage to catch up, but it wasn't enough to overtake. And so for this first race, it's going to be a solid 6th place from the back of the pack. There it is, P6. Now moving on to some qualifying, I laid down a 32.2. That put me on pole position for this next race. And when you're starting on pole position, of course, it's a very different race compared to starting 15th. And so all I have to do really is just try to pull away as quickly as possible and try to not make it a race. We want to kind of disillusion our opponents and just disappear off into the distance as soon as possible, and that's exactly what happened on this occasion. And I've got to say a big thank you to the boys and girls back at the Porsche factory. As close as this guy did run me, I was able to bring home a very proud victory for the boys and girls back at Stuttgart. Get in there, Lewis. Miracles do happen, guys. And miracles were about to happen again, because in this next race we went from pole to first in a fairly plain race. The main race you're all waiting for, though, of course, is Daily Race A, the Samba bus. Have I got a... Yes, oh my goodness. The Thomas the Tank Engine Samba bus. No one is going to want to see me in their rearview mirror. That is genuinely scary. Alright, this is it, everyone. This is where we decide who is the GOAT in the slowest race of all time. Let's go. And this is also a race that has been used before, although, of course, not as many times as Group 3 at Interlagos. This one come up maybe a couple of months ago, I think in May or something like that. And it is an entertaining one. Definitely a bit of a meme race. So it's quite funny to see it come up once again. And we're going around the Alsace test course with this almighty hill. Very strange corner, this one. I'm going to put myself on the inside. Look at that. Really no quarter given in the Samba bus here. As we move up into 6th position, just behind Bob Marley there, who's putting in a great first lap, which is absolutely incredible to see. Down towards the final complex of corners, and this is the difficult corner, I'd say, on the track. You've got to really carry that speed through. Not quite doing it as well as I could. We're going to run side by side now with Bob Marley down the main straight. Never thought I'd say that. We're actually 3 abreast momentarily, as the blue bus on the right hand side, they're getting a very good run towards the first corner, hitting highs here of 57, 58 miles an hour, which is just quite frankly unbelievable. And they really need to slow these cars down, because this is getting a bit excessive now. Through the first corner, through the banking, door rubbing, door banging between the two of them. I'm going to follow him through, and I'm into a top 5 here, and then we're going to go for a nice bit of a bump drafting on the car behind. Looking that rear view mirror over the back seats. Luckily we've got no passengers weighing us down today, and I'm not sure they'd want to be in the back here. This would be truly terrifying to be a passenger in one of these buses during this race, as maybe that should be an option in the future. You know, in multiplayer races you can just choose to sit in the back seat of someone else's car and spectate. That'd be quite interesting. And we're coming down here in 5th. This point, get overtaken by Bob Marley. My pace just went off at the end of this race. I just couldn't seem to really do this car enough justice. And having a ding-dong battle here with Bob Marley through the final corner. As, I mean, excuse the wording there, but the blue car goes through. And, yeah, I just lost my pace at the end of this one. So, unfortunately, it's only going to be a 7th. Oh, well, that was the most boring race of all time. And I guess I'm not the GOAT anymore. Finished 7th. But getting that race done gives me just enough time to jump in Daily Race C. This is going to be a hard combination. I'm not going to do any practice. And that is usually a very silly decision, but oh well, we're going to do it. Now, Group 2 at Maggior, reverse. This isn't a combination that really comes up, so I suppose there is some creativity here, and they haven't completely run out of ideas. So this one is actually quite an interesting combination. So let's give it a go. Although they do love Maggior, I think that's fair to say. This track does come up pretty much every other week at least. Now we're going to come up into this battle here between these two guys, and I'm going to kind of get caught up in it into their fight. And you see there, they're just running each other wide, etc. And I can only really position myself on the outside, and just, oh goodness me, it's all over the place here. This is not good. We're at the back of the pack here, And we just really need to get away from this battle. Boom. That guy is straight into the wall of death. And the exit of the final corner. Now, I had a very interesting battle with this Frenchman, who would be the real villain in the story. I mean, to begin with, though, I became the villain because of this move that's about to come up, going down the back straight. And then you're coming up to a very fast sequence of corners here. He's in the Audi RS5, the newer Group 2 car, well, DTM car. And here we're going to go for a big lunge, and yeah, I mean, I would fully admit that that was not the cleanest of moves. It definitely wouldn't be making a top 10 cleanest moves of all time video, would it? And then, to no surprise, we get bundled wide by the Frenchman. And I suppose that was fair enough, because my move was not good at all. But later on, I think he was still aggrieved by it, even though we were pretty much even by this point. And coming through here, just continues turning right. I've got nowhere to go. He's going to bundle me off onto the gravel, and boom, just like that, my hopes of having a good result were completely over. I mean, I wasn't going to get one anyway. But now they're completely gone. Back down to 13th. Absolute disaster. We're going to have to try to really pull one out of the hat here, guys, with the soft tyres beginning to die of death. I came in and whacked on the mediums. I didn't really know the strategy, so I just kind of followed what everyone else was doing. Catching up with this battle as these two guys go hammer and tong. A bit of a corner cut there. Yellow flag, someone's spinning off, so we're going to gain a position. Goes quite slow. Oh my goodness, almost into the back of him. Around the outside we go. And then he goes straight back up the inside. We're going to perform the old switcheroo. Kind of annoying because he's about to serve a penalty, so we were losing loads of time. Then he serves it. That guy goes into the pit lane, so we gain another position. And then a bit later on, this is lap 8 now, the Spaniard there, smashing off into the wall. And then I caught up with my good friend, the Frenchman. And this is where things began to get a bit spicy once again. Spiciness levels were increasing by the moment. As we come in here, he just slowed down really early. I was thought, okay, I don't know what you're trying to do here, bro. Don't know what you're trying to do. Trying to entice me into something. But here, I mean, I accidentally kept accelerating into the corner. It was a 100% accident. And the stewards would surely agree with that assessment. As my brakes just stopped working. I don't know why they stopped working, but eventually it was an 8th position at the end of that one. Let's jump into this replay, guys, because this was an absolute mess. This was a horror show of a race. I'll hold my hand up here, guys, and say this one was a mega dive bomb of the century. Boom up the inside. You can see from his perspective, yeah, that was too late. And it was little surprise, therefore, as these guys all go for a spin, to receive this move just moments later. So I thought, okay, I think it's 1-1. Here he loses control, and this is, I want to see this. He comes through, drives a little bit wide. And I've got nowhere to go. I mean, that's the only gap that was there. So I've seen that he's gone slow. I have to go to the right, and he just keeps turning right. So that was just very bad driving. Did he come back for a move here? I think he does. Oh, he just overtakes him fairly. He went quite wide, and then I'm expecting something here. As we come down into this sharp left, he just fires it in, even though he got past because of this. He made a mistake. So there's no need for that at all. Spaniard wants revenge, tries it, only ends up sending himself into the Shadow Realm. And on the same corner where he bundled me wide, I accidentally bundled him wide. What an accident that was. What a shame. I think it's fair to say that race wasn't ideal. But I've got to say, Group 2 at Maggiore, something different. We haven't had this one before, from what I can remember, and it's not too bad. So I did some qualifying here, which was quite important, setting a 45.6, which put me 7th on the grid for this next race. This is important because I think starting towards the back really hurts your tyres following other cars around this kind of circuit. Group 2, these cars have high downforce, and this is a fast sweeping track, so tyre wear is quite bad as it is, and then following other cars makes it a lot worse. And so we're going to have to try and make some progress as quickly as possible. Now this race was actually really interesting. I actually found this one really good. Initially, I was on the back foot because, as you can see, I'm on the medium tyre, and I felt like this was the better strategy. Normally, I think it's better to go with the harder available tyre, then go to the softer at the end, and that's what I did here. So we're going to go medium to soft. On the previous race, I did soft to medium. We get pushed a tiny bit wide through the banked corner. Big banky boy, someone on the left-hand side there spinning out. So I gain a position, but these two behind me are all over me. And it looks like I'm going to lose a position, thankfully, and somehow I don't. And so as we head into the sweeping corners, I'm able to remain ahead as we close right up to the Portuguese driver who had some sort of little moment there with the guy in front. Are we going to be able to get a position here? Quite slow on the exit. I'm going to move to the right-hand side, which is going to be the outside for this left. Can we perform the switcheroo? Yes, we can, just about. Quite an extended old switcheroo, but we got the job done in the end. That's going to be fifth, with quite a big gap behind now, actually. So thankfully, I managed to resist the overtake attempts from the cars behind in the first half of the lap. And it's kind of paid dividends here as we move forward a couple of positions into a bit of clear air. And kind of shows you, if you're under pressure, you just have to resist that pressure for a while, and then thankfully it should, or hopefully it will side. So up into 5th place here by the start of lap 2. It's a 10 lap race, so quite a lengthy race with Daily Race C, normally about 17 to 20 minutes or so. And I'm going to try to pull up to the back of this battle for the top 3. And it was quite interesting. When I saw myself 7th on the grid, I thought, you know, maybe I'll push into a top 5 by the end, but we've already got to a top 5, so we're going to try and aim for a bit higher than that. A podium is very possible here. Heading down the hill, fast downhill chicane into the big banky boy. Legendary and iconic corner, this one. And I think we should get a petition going for this track to be built in real life. So heading down the back straight here, in the slipstream of the two cars in front. And this is a horrible section to follow another car. One, because of the aero loss, but also because of the visual loss. You can't quite see exactly where you're looking, and you're trying to cut that left-hand corner, and this one, and this right-hander actually to an extent. When you're following so closely, you can't quite see exactly what you're looking at. Down into the left-hand corner, very awkward turn this one, and he actually parks it really close on the apex, slows us both down. And I'm going to try and pick a way through. I mean, his car says stay away and no pro, but we're going to try and do our best to try and get past him as quickly as possible. Now here, the German makes a mistake getting caught up on the sausage curb, and then on the exit of this right-hander, he's going to pull over to the right-hand side, leave the space open, and it was a very inviting opportunity, and I took it. Up into 4th, I run in wide through the corner, so he can't go for this move into the right. And then the guy in 2nd place you see there, into the wall of death, quitting the race, and all of a sudden I'm in a battle for 2nd place. The leader is quite a long way away, 7 seconds up in the lead. And so I think realistically we're looking at a 2nd place being the best place I can get, but that is not too bad from 7th on the grid. So this was lap number 3. I decided to put my brake balance all the way to the rear, and I suppose this is a positive change in the game where slowly but surely they're bringing back some more tuning options in some of the races, and brake balance included in that, although that has been in the game for a while. But I seem to remember in GT Sport that was in pretty much every race. You could always change your brake balance, whereas in GT7 it's not as common, although it is in most races now, or at least half of them. Right, anyway, this is lap number 4, and you can see I just couldn't quite keep up with the guy in front. I really did wear out the front tyres by not putting my brake bias to the back. And you can see the guy behind was catching, but then had a moment there on the exit. There's quite a big bump on the exit of that corner, and it's really easy to lose control of the car over that bump. And thankfully, it wasn't me on this occasion. So, a bit of a gap to the car in front, but on this lap, I very quickly gained on him. So we can take a look at that here. 1.5 seconds the gap at the start of the lap, and immediately down to 1.2. So he took the first corner quite slowly, really making the most of the track there, through turn number 3. Is it 3 or turn number 4? Down the chicane here, the gap's down to 0.7 already, so he's had a really bad first sector, and it seems like his front tyres are really going off. So perhaps this guy hasn't changed his brake bias towards the rear to protect the front tyres, or he's just overdriving on the front tyres. And you see already, this is going to be an overtake opportunity. So from a 1.5 second gap, and we're going to go for the move here, only halfway into the lap. Unfortunately here we have a bit of contact, so I felt like I left him space. He wanted a bit more, and thankfully it wasn't any more than just a scary half a second. But here he gets a poor exit. We're going to go past him on the outside and claim second place in this one. Down into this awkward left, we get into second place fully. And now it's a case of just trying to bridge a gap to the cars behind as much as possible. The leader is 9.9 or 10 seconds in front, so not really concentrating on them. So I decided to go around one more lap. I wasn't sure if this was the right call, as some of the cars behind went in at the end of lap 5, so they're going to do 5 and 5. The car behind all of a sudden had a very strange looking spin. It looked like it really came out of nowhere. So I had sort of an uninterrupted lap here to try to go as quickly as possible without having to focus on anyone behind. But the front tyres were really going off by this point. The medium tyres only can last 6 laps at most. And you can see here by the end of the lap, the front's down to not much left. I definitely can't do another lap. And so we bring the car in. The Honda boys here doing a fantastic job as ever, and you see that I look quite disappointed here because I thought I put mediums back on, but thankfully it was actually the softs. I did do it right. As we come out onto the track just ahead of SRC Matthew, and he got a massive undercut there going onto the soft tyre quite early, so I knew that I just really had to stay ahead here, make sure he wore out his tyres quicker than me. I've got fresh tyres by 1 lap, maybe 2, I'm not quite sure, but I'd imagine that his tyres are going to fade away by the time we get to the end of the race. And so I just got to keep nice and clean, make sure he doesn't get past me, and it should be a quite clear second place, which is not a bad result. And that is pretty much exactly what happened. The rest of the stint was quite safe, quite easy, pulling away to a 3.6 second gap, and ultimately finishing in a very pleasing second place. I'll take a P2, guys. Pretty much everyone was crashing in that race. So I think I'm quite happy to get no penalties and no crashes. I'll take it. Overall, quite a decent combination. Group 2, Maggior, reverse, not bad. Hopefully Polyphony come up with some good combos next week. And on that note, catch you next time.